How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances from yesterday, Monday, May 10th, and of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Starting with the NBA, looking at the two primetime games yesterday, the first one was in Atlanta. The Atlanta Hawks hosted the Washington Wizards, and in this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks would beat the Wizards 125-124. The Wizards would outscore the Atlanta Hawks by 16 in the fourth quarter to bring the game to within one, but Russell Westbrook, after having a historical performance in which he broke the NBA record for career triple-doubles with the 182, he tried to take the last shot to win the game, and he missed it. So the Atlanta Hawks came away with their 38th win of the season. For the Washington Wizards in this matchup, their leading scorer was their elite starting point guard, Russell Westbrook, who finished with 28 points, 13 rebounds, and 21 assists in 40 minutes, as he shot 10 for 22 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the line. Also in the starting lineup, their starting power forward, Rui Hachimura, would finish with 20 points in 28 minutes as he shot 9 for 19 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 1 for 1 from the foul line. For the Atlanta Hawks, their leading scorer was their elite starting point guard, Trae Young, who finished with 36 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists alongside 6 turnovers in 37 minutes as he shot 11 for 22 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 13 for 13 from the foul line. Alongside him, their starting power forward, John Collins, would finish with 28 points, 8 rebounds, and a couple of blocks in 33 minutes as he shot 10 for 14 from the field. He made his only three-point attempt of the night, and he was a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line. And their starting shooting guard, Bogdan Bogdanovic, would finish with 25 points, 5 rebounds, and a couple of steals in 36 minutes as he shot 8 for 17 from the field, 7 for 12 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 38-31. That is the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now won 6 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they currently sit 1 game behind the 4th place New York Knicks. They currently sit 1 game ahead of the 6th place Miami Heat, and they trail the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers by 9.5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Washington Wizards are now 32-37. That is the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost 4 of their last 10. They currently sit a game and a half behind the 8th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and they currently sit 15.5 games behind the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers. Regardless, there is a new triple-double all-time leader, and it is 32-year-old Russell Westbrook, who has virtually his entire career to build that lead, but of course, incredible feat to him. Looking out to the other primetime game of the night, this one took place in San Francisco, and the Golden State Warriors would host the Utah Jazz, the holders of the best record in the NBA. In this matchup, the Warriors would end up beating the Jazz 119-116 after they outscored the Jazz by 9 points in the third quarter. The Jazz tried to come back in the fourth, but it just wasn't enough. The Golden State Warriors they had to pull through in order to keep their playoffs holding. For the Utah Jazz, their leading scorer was their it was their point guard off the bench, Jordan Clarkson, who finished with 41 points and 7 rebounds in 35 minutes as he shot 16 for 33 from the field, 5 for 16 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. Their leading scorer out of their starters was their starting small forward, Bojan Bogdanovic, who finished with 27 points, 6 rebounds, and a couple of steals in 34 minutes as he shot 9 for 21 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Also in the starting lineup, their elite starting center, Rudy Gobert, would finish with 10 points and 16 rebounds in 31 minutes as he shot 4 for 6 from the field and 2 for 3 from the foul line. For the Golden State Warriors, their leading scorer was their goated starting point guard, Stephen Curry, out of Davidson, who finished with 36 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 37 minutes as he shot 11 for 27 from the field, 3 for 13 from 3, and 11 for 12 from the foul line. And then off the bench, their shooting guard, Jordan Poole, would finish with 20 points in 19 minutes as he shot 6 for 11 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. With this win, the Golden State Warriors are now 36-33. That is the 8th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 3 games and 7 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they currently sit 2.5 games behind the 7th place Los Angeles Lakers, and they currently sit a game and a half ahead of the 9th place Memphis Grizzlies, as the Warriors have most recently clinched a spot into the NBA play-in tournament for the playoffs. And then with this loss, the Utah Jazz are now 50-19. That is the best record in the Western Conference and the best record in the NBA still. With this loss, they've still won 6 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they currently sit a game and a half ahead of the second-place Phoenix Suns. They sit 14 games ahead of the 8th-place Golden State Warriors, and they sit 34 games ahead of the last-place Houston Rockets, just to show where the Utah Jazz are following this loss. And looking out to the games that weren't on primetime, this time jumping to Cleveland. The Cleveland Cavaliers hosted the Indiana Pacers, and the Pacers would beat the Cavaliers 111-102 after outscoring the Cavaliers by 16 points in the second half. For the Cavaliers, their leading scorer was their starting point guard Colin Sexton, who finished with 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists in 37 minutes, as he shot 7 for 26 from the field and 10 for 12 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Isaac Okoro, would finish with 22 points and 10 rebounds in 43 minutes, as he shot 8 for 20 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. For the Indiana Pacers, their leading scorer was their was their shooting guard off the bench, Kalen Martin. In this matchup, Kalen Martin would finish with 25 points and 7 rebounds in 25 minutes, as he shot 11 for 16 from the field and 3 for 4 from 3. Their leading scorer amongst their starters was their all-star starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis, who finished with 21 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks in 39 minutes, as he shot 8 for 15 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. And their starting shooting guard, Karis LeVert, would finish with 20 points and 10 assists in 37 minutes, as he shot 8 for 19 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Indiana Pacers are now 32-36. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now won 5 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 1 game behind the 8th-place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, as they currently trail the first-place Philadelphia 76ers by 15 games in the conference. With this loss, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 21-48. That is the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they have lost their last 11 games. That is the worst losing streak in the NBA. They currently sit 12 and a half games behind the 8th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and they now trail the first place Philadelphia 76ers by 26 and a half games in the entire conference. Jumping out to Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies hosted the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Grizzlies were able to beat the Pelicans 115-110, as the Grizzlies were able to outscore the Pelicans by 12 in the first half in order to gain this lead to get this momentum. For the Pelicans in this game, their leading scorer would be their shooting guard off the bench, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who finished with 18 points and 6 assists in 24 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field on the night. For the Memphis Grizzlies, their leading scorer was their starting small forward, Dylan Brooks, out of Oregon, who finished with 23 points and 2 steals in 30 minutes, as he shot 9 for 21 from the field and 4 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting center, Jonas Valanciunas, would finish with 20 points and 11 rebounds, as well as 5 blocks in 27 minutes, as he shot 9 for 12 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. And their elite starting point guard, John Moran, would finish with 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 12 assists in 35 minutes, as he shot 5 for 14 from the field and 2 for 6 from 3 on the night. With this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 35-33. That is the 9th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 2 games and 5 of their last 10. And they currently sit half a game behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors outside of the Western Conference playoff picture. And they currently sit 14 and a half games behind the first place Utah Jazz in the conference. With this loss, the New Orleans Pelicans are now 31-38. That is the 5th worst record in the Western Conference. With this loss, they've now lost their last 5 games. They currently sit 5 games behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors, 4.5 behind the 9th place Grizzlies, and they currently sit 19 full games behind the first place Utah Jazz in the entire Western Conference, just to show where they are. Jumping out to San Antonio, the San Antonio Spurs hosted the Milwaukee Bucks and were able to beat them by 21. The Spurs beat the Bucks 146-125 after they outscored Milwaukee by 9 points in the first quarter and 14 in the second, by a combined 23 in the first half. For the Milwaukee Bucks, their leading scorer would be their elite starting power forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo out of Greece, who finished with 28 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists in 29 minutes. He shot 11 for 16 from the field and 6 for 7 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, their former All-Star Chris Middleton, would finish with 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 32 minutes as he shot 10 for 15 from the field, and he made his only free throw attempt of the night. And then their starting point guard, Drew Holiday, would finish with 20 points and 6 assists in 31 minutes as he shot 9 for 14 from the field and 2 for 5 from 3 on the night. For the San Antonio Spurs, their leading scorer was their starting small forward, DeMar DeRozan, who finished with 23 points in 5 turnovers in 29 minutes as he shot 9 for 17 from the field and 5 for 7 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, DeJounte Murray, would finish with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists in 35 minutes as he shot 8 for 14 from the field, a perfect 2 for 2 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Keldon Johnson, would finish with 20 points and 7 rebounds in 25 minutes as he shot 6 for 9 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line. And off the bench, their point guard, Patty Mills, would finish with 20 points in 23 minutes as he shot 7 for 10 from the field and 6 for 9 from 3. The Spurs had 4 players that scored at least 20 points on the night and 2 additional players that had 19. With this win, the San Antonio Spurs are now 33-35. That is the 10th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won 4 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 2.5 games behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently sit 16.5 games behind the first place Utah Jazz in the entire conference. With this loss, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 43-25. That is the 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference. With this loss, they've still won 7 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they still already have secured a playoff spot, but they sit 1 game behind the 2nd place Brooklyn Nets, and they sit 5 games ahead of the 4th place New York Knicks. They currently trail the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers by 4 games in the conference, just to get a sense of where the Milwaukee Bucks are following this loss. And last but not least, the Portland Trailblazers hosted the Houston Rockets and were able to pull up a 140-129 win after they outscored Houston 50-33 in the first quarter, which of course gave them momentum to run away with this win. For the Rockets, their leading scorers finished with 21 points on the day. Their point guard, DJ Augustine, had 21 points in 25 minutes as he shot 6 for 10 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. And their starting power forward, Kelly Olynyk, would finish with 21 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 29 minutes as he shot 5 for 12 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and a perfect 10 for 10 from the foul line. For the Portland Trailblazers, their leading scorer was their elite starting point guard out of Weber State, Damian Lillard, who finished with 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists in 36 minutes as he shot 11 for 20 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, CJ McCollum, would finish with 28 points and 7 assists in 35 minutes as he shot 8 for 17 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3, and 6 for 8 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Norman Powell, would finish with 28 points and 6 rebounds in 35 minutes as he shot 9 for 17 from the field and 7 for 9 from the foul line. And their starting center, Yusuf Nurkic, would finish with 22 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals in 29 minutes as he shot 10 for 14 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With the Portland Trailblazers having 4 players as well that finished with at least 20 points. With this win, they are now 40-29. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 4 games and 8 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they currently sit half a game behind the 5th place Dallas Mavericks and a game and a half ahead of the 7th place defending champs Los Angeles Lakers, and they currently sit 10 games behind the 1st place Utah Jazz in the Western Conference. With this loss, the Houston Rockets are now 16-53. That is the worst record in the Western Conference, and that's the worst record in the NBA, just for the fact of it. They've now lost their last 6 games and 9 of their last 10. They currently sit 20 games behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors outside the Western Conference playoff pictures. Of course, they are eliminated from playoff contention, and they currently sit 34 games behind the 1st place Utah Jazz in the entire conference, just to show where they sit. That is how the NBA is looking following yesterday's matchups, looking into what's going on today. Today is Tuesday, so the games are going to be on TNT at 7:30. The Boston Celtics, who are currently holding the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference, are going to host the defending Eastern Conference champions, Miami Heat, who are currently holding the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference. That game will be on TNT, as Jaylen Brown has been ruled out for the rest of the season due to an injured wrist. And the game that's coming on right after that will take place in Staples Center as the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks are going to face off against one another. Both teams hold the same record. For the Knicks, it gives them the fourth best record in the East, and for the Lakers, it's giving them the seventh best record in the West. So it'll be a very interesting matchup, as of course LeBron James is very possible that he may come back tonight. And then outside of the primetime matchups at 7 o'clock, the Charlotte Hornets are going to host the Denver Nuggets, and the Detroit Pistons are going to host the Minnesota Timberwolves. At 7:30, the Toronto Raptors are going to host the Los Angeles Clippers in Tampa, Florida. At 8 o'clock, the Indiana Pacers are going to host the Philadelphia 76ers. The Chicago Bulls are going to host the Brooklyn Nets, and the Memphis Grizzlies are going to host the Dallas Mavericks. At 9 o'clock, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to host the Orlando Magic. At 10 o'clock, the Golden State Warriors are going to host the Phoenix Suns, and the Sacramento Kings are going to host the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that is how the NBA is shaping up, staying within the arena, but shifting the context to ice just to give a sense of how the NHL is shaping up as the NHL season is coming to a close. Of course, making note of the fact that every team has to play within their own division. Starting north of the border, the Winnipeg Jets hosted the Vancouver Canucks, and the Vancouver Canucks were able to pull off a 3-1 win as their left winger Hoglander would finish with 2 goals. With this win, they now have 21 wins on the season, and that is the worst record in the North Division as they currently trail the Toronto Maple Leafs by 31 points in the table. Staying up north, the Montreal Canadiens hosted the Edmonton Oilers, and the Oilers were able to beat the Canadiens 4-3 as their center Evans had a goal and 2 assists. Their left winger Lehkonen had a goal and 2 assists as well. With their 34th win of the season, the Oilers now hold the second best record in the North Division as they sit 6 points behind the Maple Leafs. They have officially lost the division, but of course they still are able. They have earned a spot in the playoffs. Jumping out to Boston. The Boston Bruins hosted the New York Islanders, and the Bruins were able to beat the Islanders 3-2 in overtime to pick up their 33rd win of the season as their left winger Hall had 2 goals. With this win, the Boston Bruins now hold the third best record in the East Division as they sit 4 points behind the first place Pittsburgh Penguins, but they still have already clinched a playoff spot. And then jumping out to Philly, the Philadelphia Flyers hosted the New Jersey Devils and were able to pull off a 4-2 win as they picked up their 25th win of the season. With this win, they now hold the 6th best record in the East Division as they sit 19 points behind the first place Penguins. They've already been officially eliminated for the race, as I believe, for the playoff spot. Jumping out to Miami, the Florida Panthers hosted the Tampa Bay Lightning and were able to pull off a 4-0 shutout to pick up their 37th win of the season. With this win, the Panthers now hold the second best record in the division as they now sit 1 point behind the Carolina Hurricanes as both teams have already clinched a playoff spot, but that was a big statement for the Panthers to make. Jumping out to Chicago, the Chicago Blackhawks hosted the Dallas Stars, and the Stars were able to beat the Blackhawks 5-4 in overtime, Stars getting their 23rd win of the season. With this win, the Stars now hold the 5th best record in the division as they sit 20 points behind the first place Hurricanes, as I believe they have been eliminated from the playoff race. Jumping out to Nashville, the Predators hosted the Carolina Hurricanes and were able to blank the Hurricanes 5-0 to pick up their 31st win. With this win, the Predators now hold the 4th best record in the Central Division, and they are now holders of a playoff spot as they currently sit 16 points behind the Carolina Hurricanes in the division. And then last but not least, jumping out west, the Las Vegas Golden Knights hosted the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche were able to beat the Golden Knights 2-1 to pick up their 37th win of the season. And that is the second best, and they currently hold the second best record in the West Division as they sit 2 points behind the Golden Knights as the division is still up for grabs. And then last but not least, the Los Angeles Kings hosted the St. Louis Blues, and the Blues were able to beat the Kings 2-1 in overtime to pick up their 25th win of the season. And the Blues now hold the 4th best record in the West as they sit 21 points behind the first place Golden Knights, but they currently hold on to a playoff spot. They hold on to a playoff spot at the moment. That is what the NHL is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Looking into what's going on today at 7, or the only game that's going to be on prime time will be at ESPN Plus as the Winnipeg Jets will host the Vancouver Canucks. And then at 7 o'clock, the Washington Capitals are going to host the Boston Bruins. These are two teams in the East Division that are holding on to playoff positions, as I believe they are. But that is what the NHL is looking like following yesterday's matchups going into today's Tuesday matchups. And then, of course, with yesterday being Monday, there were less baseball games. So looking at the shortened baseball schedule from yesterday, starting in Pittsburgh, the Pirates hosted the Cincinnati Reds, and the Reds were able to pick up a 14-1 win as Maile got his second win of the season. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, the start and the loss would end up going to Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller would allow 7 earned runs in 3.1 innings pitched as he struck out 2 batters on the day. With this loss, Mitch Keller is now 2-4 as a starting pitcher on the season. Their starting second baseman, Adam Frazier, would go 2 for 3 with a walk. Their center fielder, Brian Reynolds, would go 2 for 2 as he walked twice as well. Those are the only 2 players that had more than 1 hit. For the Cincinnati Reds, the start and the win would go to Tyler Mahle. Mahle would allow 1 earned run in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 7 on the day. With his win, he is 2-1 as a starting pitcher for Cincinnati. Their second baseman, Nick Senzel, would go 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and a run. Their left fielder, Jesse Winkler, would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs on the day. Their first baseman, Mike Moustakas, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their center fielder, Tyler Naquin, would go 2 for 5 with 4 RBIs and 2 runs, as Naquin would hit his 8th home run of the season. Their elite third baseman, Eugenio Suarez, would go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 6th home run of the season. Their catcher, Tucker Barnhart, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. And then their shortstop, Kyle Farmer, would end up going 2 for 4 with 2 runs on the day. With this win, the Cincinnati Reds are now 16-16. That is currently the 4th best record in the National League Central, as they sit 3.5 games behind the first place St. Louis Cardinals. With this loss, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 14-20. That is the worst record in the National League Central, as they now sit 6.5 games behind the first place St. Louis Cardinals. Jumping out to Baltimore, the Baltimore Orioles hosted the Boston Red Sox and were able to pull up a 4-1 win, as 2 of their 4 runs came in the 8th inning. For the Boston Red Sox, the start would go to Martin Perez. Perez would allow 1 earned run in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 4 batters on the day. The loss will go to the Red Sox first relief pitcher, Matt Andriese. Andriese would go on to allow 3 earned runs in 2 innings pitched as he struck out 2 on the day. With this loss, he is 1-2 as a relief pitcher for Boston. The only player on the team that had more than 1 hit was their elite designated hitter, JD Martinez, who went 2 for 4 with a run on the day. For the Baltimore Orioles, the start went to Jorge Lopez. Lopez would allow 1 earned run in 5.2 innings pitched as he struck out 5 on the day. The win would go to their first relief pitcher, Tanner Scott. Scott would allow no earned runs in the .1 innings pitched as he finished out the inning and he struck out a batter. With this win, Tanner Scott is now 2-2, and the save would be given to Cesar Valdez. Cesar Valdez's 8th save of the season. In their lineup, their first baseman, Trey Mancini, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 7th home run of the season. Their designated hitter, Ryan Mountcastle, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 3rd home run of the season. And then their catcher, Pedro Severino, will go 3 for 4 on the day. With this win, the Baltimore Orioles are now 16-19. That is the worst record in the American League East, as they now trail the first place Boston Red Sox by 5.5 games in the division. And with this loss, the Boston Red Sox are now 22-14. That is currently the best record in the American League East, and they currently hold the most wins in the American League and the entire Major League, for that matter, too, as they sit 3 games ahead of the second place New York Yankees and the third place Tampa Bay Rays at the moment in the American League East. Jumping out to Houston, the Houston Astros hosted the Los Angeles Angels, and after putting up 4 runs in the 6th inning, the Angels would put up a 5-4 win to beat the Astros in Houston. For the Houston Astros, the start went to Luis Garcia. Garcia would allow 3 earned runs in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 7 on the day. The loss, however, would go to their first relief pitcher, Brandon Belock. Brandon Belock would allow 2 earned runs in .1 innings pitched as he was unable to strike out a batter. It was his first blown save of the season, and with this loss, he is now 1-2 as a relief pitcher. In their batting lineup, their elite second baseman Jose Altuve will go 2-for-4 with a run on the day, and their first baseman Yuli Gurriel will go 2-for-4, and their center fielder Miles Straw will go 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs on the day. For the Los Angeles Angels, the start would go to Junior Guerra. Junior Guerra would allow 3 earned runs in the first inning as he struck out 2. He was taken out after the first inning. The win was given to their first relief pitcher, Jose Suarez. Suarez would allow 1 earned run in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 1 on the day. With this win, Suarez is now 1-0 as a relief pitcher for the Angels, and Raisael Iglesias would pick up his 6th save of the season as he struck out 2 and he allowed no runs in the final inning. In their batting lineup, they had 2 players that had more than 1 hit. Their first baseman Jared Walsh would go 4-for-4 with a walk, 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 7th home run of the season. And then their third baseman Phil Gosselin will go 2-for-4 with an RBI for himself. With this win, the Los Angeles Angels are now 16-18. That is the worst record in the American League West, as they now trail the first place Oakland Athletics by 4 games in the division. And with this loss, the Houston Astros are now 18-17. They are now tied with the Seattle Mariners for the second best record in the American League West, as they now trail the Oakland Athletics by 2.5 games in the division, just to show where they are. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks hosted the Miami Marlins, and they were able to pull up a 5-2 win, giving Luke Weaver his 2nd win of the season. For the Miami Marlins, the start and the loss was given to Jordan Holloway. Jordan Holloway would allow 3 earned runs in 3.2 innings pitched as he only struck out 1 batter on the day. With this loss, he is 1-1 as a starting pitcher for the Marlins. Their right fielder, Garrett Cooper, would be the only player on the team who had more than 1 hit as he finished 2-for-4 on the day. Jesus Aguilar, their first baseman, will go 1-for-4 with both of the team's RBIs and a run as he would hit his 7th home run of the season. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, the start and the win would be given to Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver would allow no earned runs in 6.1 innings pitched as he struck out 6 batters on the day. He picked up with his win, he is now 2-3 on the season, and the save was given to Stephon Crichton, his 4th save of the season, as he struck out 1 batter and allowed 0 runs. In their batting lineup, they had 2 players with 2 hits. Their right fielder, Pavin Smith, would go 2-for-4 with 2 runs. And then their left fielder, David Peralta, would go 2-for-4 with an RBI and a run. With this win, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 16-19. That is the 4th best record in the National League West, as they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 5 games in the division. And with this loss, the Miami Marlins are now 15-19. That is the 4th best record in the National League East, as they now trail the first place New York Mets by 3.5 games in the division. And last but not least, jumping out to San Francisco, the San Francisco Giants were able to beat the Texas Rangers in Fisherman's Wharf yesterday, 3-1 after putting up 2 runs in the 7th inning to give them their 21st win of the season. For the Texas Rangers, the start was given to Kyle Gibson. Kyle Gibson would allow 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 6 batters on the day. He was not given a decision. The loss was given to John King. King would allow 1 earned run and 2 total runs in .2 innings pitched as he struck out 2 batters on the day. With this loss, John King is now 4-2 as a relief pitcher for Texas, and the only player that had more than 1 hit was their left fielder, Chris Davis, who went 2-for-4 with a run. And then for the San Francisco Giants, the start and the win would go to Alex Wood. Wood would allow 1 earned run in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 7 batters on the day. And the save was given to Jake McGee. McGee would allow no earned runs in the inning that he pitched as he struck out 1 batter. That's his 9th save of the season. In their batting lineup, no one on the team had more than 1 hit, but their first baseman, Brandon Belt, will go 1-for-3 with an RBI and a run as Brandon Belt hit his 8th home run of the season. With this win, the San Francisco Giants are now 21-14. That is the best record in the National League West, and they are tied with the St. Louis Cardinals for the best record in the National League total. In the division, they sit 2 games ahead of the second place San Diego Padres. And with this loss, the Texas Rangers are now 18-19. That is the 4th best record in the American League West, as they now sit 3.5 games behind the first place Oakland Athletics, to give a sense of where the Rangers sit. That is currently what the MLB is looking like. Not that many games yesterday, as all the teams are easing into their new or they're easing into their upcoming series at the moment. Starting with the prime time matchups at 7 o'clock, the Tampa Bay Luis Patino and the Tampa Bay Rays are going to host Jordan Montgomery and the New York Yankees on ESPN. At 7:10, Matthew Boyd and the Detroit Tigers are going to host Brady Singer and the Kansas City Royals on ESPN Plus. Those are going to be the only two games that are going to be on prime time. Outside of those games, at 3:45, Logan Webb and the San Francisco Giants are going to host Jordan Lyles and the Texas Rangers. At 6:10, the Cleveland Indians, led by their elite starting pitcher, Shane Bieber, are going to host Adbert Alzolay and the Chicago Cubs. At 6:35, JT Brubaker and the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to host Jeff Hoffman and the Cincinnati Reds. At 7:05, Eric Fetty and the Washington Nationals are going to host Chase Anderson and the Philadelphia Phillies. At 7:10, Marcus Stroman and the New York Mets are going to host undefeated John Means and the Baltimore Orioles. At 7:10, Nathan Eovaldi and the Boston Red Sox are going to host Chris Bassett and the Oakland Athletics. At 7:20, the Atlanta Braves are going to host Robbie Ray and the Toronto Blue Jays. Then at 7:40, Freddie Peralta and the Milwaukee Brewers are going to host Kwang Hyun Kim and the St. Louis Cardinals. At 8:10, Lance McCullers Jr. is going to host Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Angels at 8:10. At the same time, Dylan Cease and the Chicago White Sox are going to host Kenta Maeda and the Minnesota Twins. At 8:40, Antonio Senzatella and the Colorado Rockies are going to host Dinelson Lamet and the San Diego Padres. At 9:40, Madison Bumgarner and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host Pablo Lopez and the Miami Marlins. And last but not least, at 10 o'clock, Walker Buehler, the elite starting pitcher of the defending champs Los Angeles Dodgers, is going to face off against Yusei Kikuchi and the Seattle Mariners. And that's what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's matchups. And then last but not least, taking a glance of what's going on in the world of soccer as we're looking at what's going on off the continent at the moment. Okay, yesterday there were not any crazy big games that really decided anything. I mean, of course, Porto won their match, but I imagine they're already going to win the Portuguese league. Looking out to what's going on in the Premier League, Manchester United is facing off against Leicester City at 1 o'clock. Manchester United holds the second-best record. With a loss here, I believe Man City would win the Premier League. So, of course, a win here is still always good for Man U, and they still sit 6 points over Chelsea. Of course, a win here can create separation between them, and Leicester City sits fourth in the table, so a win here would be very important for them if they want to play in the Champions League next year. And then last but not least, jumping out to La Liga, Levante is going to host Barcelona at 4 o'clock. A win here would temporarily put Barcelona on top of the table as they sit 2 points below first place Atletico Madrid. So, of course, many eyes are going to be on Barcelona as they seek to try to take over this title. With that said, that's everything that's going on for today, Tuesday, May 11th, and that was everything. Those were all the exhibitions and matchups from yesterday, Monday, May 10th. I want to thank everyone once again for listening to all 33 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And once all of today's matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow on Wednesday, May 12th, for another episode of The Elite. Thanks once again for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.